We have been visited by aliens from other worlds. We are still being visited. Literally tens of thousands of people from across the globe have witnessed them and made reports. Tens of thousands more remain silent about what they have seen. Politicians, military officers, business leaders and astronauts have all come out of the darkness to reveal their own experiences. But more than this, there are hundreds of incidents where larger groups of people have witnessed the unexplained. They can't all be mad. They can't all be hallucinating or seeking attention. There has to be truth hidden within all of this data. We are going to embark upon the journey into the world of UFO and alien sightings all around the world. Are you ready for the truth? Because it is out there. From the crashed ship in Dallas in the 19th century to the hundreds of Foo Fighters spotted by pilots in World War II, from the thousands of sightings in the Hudson Valley in the 1980s to the sightings of ships by huge crowds at baseball games. All of these and more reveal a world now seen.
This thing was hanging in space, the Earth's hemisphere visible below it, and no rivets, no seams, none of the stuff associated with normal man-made manufacturing. When we were coming about 30 or 40 feet out, there were a lot of objects, white things, flying by. It looked as if they were being propelled or ejected, but I'm not convinced of that. Those are giant things. No, this is not an optical illusion. No one is going to believe this. Houston, what the hell is happening? What's wrong with you? They're under the surface. What's there? Emission interrupted. Interference control calling Apollo 11. We saw some visitors. They were here for a while observing the instruments. Repeat your last information. I say that there were other spaceships that lined up in the other side of the crater. Repeat. Let us sound this orbiter. In 625 to 5. Automatic relay connected. My hands are shaking so badly I can't do anything. Film it. God, if these damn cameras have picked up anything, what then?
What is it that stops you believing? Why do we mock those who have witnessed the wonderful? Have you been conditioned? For decades, the government and media have played down the world of the UFO, and anybody who has experienced something out of the ordinary is made to feel like a fool. Everybody has heard the term UFO. To some, it simply means unidentified and nothing more. To others, it is the term used for extraterrestrial visitations of planet Earth. Whatever we believe, the press, and even Hollywood, love to make fun of those who have claimed to have witnessed something strange. Terms such as little green men are often used to belittle believers. And yet, literally millions of people around the globe have actually witnessed the UFO phenomena, and thousands have done so in large groups and even at events such as football matches. In this film, we investigate those mass sightings, both well known and unknown. We reveal new footage, unseen before, and eyewitness accounts of the most amazing sightings. You may not want to believe, but you will by the time you finish this film. One of the very first mass sightings occurred in 1561 in Nuremberg, Germany. On the morning of April the 4th, residents woke to witness glowing balls forming shapes in the sky. According to eyewitness accounts from the time, it appeared as if the orbs were battling with each other. This lasted for over an hour, and a painting from the period reveals two large black craft launching glowing orbs, crashes and multiple contacts in the sky. Years later, another mass sighting occurred in 1853 at a college campus in Tennessee. The actual sighting was reported by Professor Carnes in a letter to Scientific American. He stated that students had witnessed two bright lights in the sky. One appeared to be a small moon, while the other looked like a huge star. Quickly, the moon vanished, but the star remained and changed shape, first into an orb and then into a cigar shape. Next, the moon reappeared and grew in size as the star reduced. This process carried on for a full 30 minutes, one of the longest sightings in history. To this day, there has been no satisfactory explanation for what was witnessed, but it is a sighting that has been seen repeatedly by thousands of people around the world ever since. A few years later, in 1897, the Dallas Morning News reported a story so bizarre that elements of it have crept into numerous sci-fi movies. In the small town of Aurora, Texas, the local citizens were rudely awoken by a sighting of what they thought was an airship. Suddenly, the craft stalled and crashed violently into a nearby windmill. Wreckage was scattered over a huge area. The newspaper reported that the pilot of the ship is supposed to have been the only one aboard, and, while his remains were badly disfigured, enough of the original has been picked up to show that he was not an inhabitant of this world. Years later, the report has been called a hoax, without any real evidence of such. It seems that mass sightings no longer carries any weight with the skeptics, but in 1973, a 91-year-old woman called Mary Evans came forward. She remembered that her parents had visited the crash site, and even that the pilot, who was not of this world, had in fact been buried in the local cemetery. During the Second World War, people had become accustomed to seeing craft in the sky. In fact, it had changed a lot in a short space of time. From single-engine biplanes to jet fighters. It is unusual then that the people of Madisonville, Kentucky would be perplexed at a huge circular glowing craft floating above their town in 1948. Even the state police were concerned and alerted the Air Force. Within 20 minutes, the tower crew at Fort Knox Air Base also witnessed the object. A squadron of P-51 fighters were scrambled to investigate. The squadron leader, a highly experienced combat pilot and decorated during World War II, was on the scene. He too spotted the craft. He reported the object via radio. "The thing looks metallic and is tremendous in size." Just 3 minutes later, Squadron Leader Mantell was dead. Officially, the Air Force stated he had run out of oxygen and crashed. Unofficially, nobody believes a word of it. Around 11 p.m. on the 5th of November 1957, police in Levelland, Texas, received 15 phone calls from worried residents about a strange object in the sky. The sightings were reported in the press, and one particular man's story would find its way into the film Close Encounters of the Third Kind. A Korean war veteran and farm worker reported seeing a flash of light followed by rushing wind. The lights and engine on his truck stopped working. Other witnesses described the craft, a blue-green colour and shaped like an egg that would suddenly become a fireball and blast off into the sky. In a small town in Pittsburgh in 1965, residents witnessed an object described as streaking fire across the sky. It crashed just before 6 p.m. in a local field. Bill Bullbush, a local resident, described the object as acorn-shaped and twice the size of a car. The local fireman, James Romansky, said that the craft had hieroglyphs around the bottom. Within 15 minutes of Romansky being on the scene, government and military officials arrived and everybody was ordered to leave. Some believed the object was a Russian satellite, but years later Russian officials admitted it was not one of theirs. In 2009, a journalist filed a Freedom of Information Act suit and discovered that NASA had conveniently lost the files. Between 1982 and 1986, over 5,000 UFO sightings were reported in the Hudson Valley just north of New York. But one particular night stands out due to the sheer size of the witnesses. On March the 24th, 1983, over 300 local residents called the local UFO hotline to report a huge V-shaped array of lights in the sky. For every one person who reported the sighting, it is estimated that another 9 or 10 did not. This would mean that thousands of people witnessed the strange sight. Residents who were near the lights reported the craft were huge, the size of a flying city, some would say. They were described as multicoloured lights, and unlike most human flying machines, they were stationary. There are no helicopters the size of a flying city. A very similar event occurred years later in 1997 in Nevada and Arizona. Thousands of people witnessed a massive V-shaped object with 7 lights. Some reported smaller craft, flying around the orb and triangular in shape. The local police phone lines couldn't cope. The National Guard later claimed they had released flares whilst on a training exercise. Nothing stated in the witnesses backs this up. Many claim to be able to see the mass of the craft behind the lights and that it was huge. Flares do not remain stationary for long periods of time, nor would they have formed a perfect V-shape. Very few people believe the National Guard story. In 2001, witnesses at a New Jersey turnpike were struck dumb as they witnessed a formation of yellow lights near the city. The formation was in the shape of a V, yet again, and lasted for at least 10 minutes before they faded one by one. In 2008, in Stevensville, over 40 residents, including a police officer and pilot, witnessed a UFO hovering over farmland. The policeman said it reminded him of a gushing volcano, but 3,000 feet in the air. It was estimated to be over half a mile wide, or as one witness put it, bigger than Walmart. For many years, lights and glowing orbs have been appearing over Lake Erie. There is no doubt that the lights are there. They have been seen by thousands. There is also no doubt that they are not celestial bodies or ordinary human craft. They change colour. They appear and disappear. They hover. The size is immense, being around the size of an ordinary house. Often, the orbs will divide like cells splitting in two. A third appears, and the three orbs form into triangular craft, just like many other sightings in other parts of the world. There is no denying these reports. Too many people have seen them. For some strange reason, around half of all UFO sightings occur around bodies of water. And many believe the sheer number of sightings at Lake Erie could mean that this is a meeting place, or even base, for extraterrestrials. Often, the pulsating orbs of light will submerge. What are they? Nobody knows. Everybody has heard of Roswell, an infamous crash of a UFO. But 5 years before, there was something much more profound. It has become known as the Battle of Los Angeles because it happened during the Second World War. Los Angeles was, like many other cities on the shores of the USA, in blackout. It was just a few weeks after the infamous attack on Pearl Harbor.
We armed our merchants, and for the first time they steamed into combat zones to deliver Lend-Lease. While this was going on in the Atlantic, the Japs, by a so-called agreement with the puppet government of defeated France, moved in on Indochina. There were now only two threats to their plan for conquest of Greater East Asia. First was their northern neighbor, Russia, the only military power within striking distance of Japan. The Nazis were taking care of Russia. The second threat to Japanese conquest was us. Japanese southward expansion was too dangerous to attempt with our bases still standing in the Philippines and our supply lines open to Wake, to Midway, and to Hawaii. We were in their way. We had to be removed, but in the Japanese way. Off to Washington went Special Ambassador Kuroso on what the Japs said was a mission of peace, but carefully synchronized with his departure from Tokyo was the departure of a Jap task force under sealed orders, not on a mission of peace. On November 14th, Mr. Kurosu arrived in San Francisco, smiling his toothy smile as he sang the old song of Japanese friendship. The Japanese were a peace-loving people. Their whole policy was devoted to the establishment of permanent peace in Asia. Our aid to China was delaying the establishment of that peace. Our refusal to sell them oil and scrap was interfering with the establishment of that peace. Our objections to their taking over the East Indies, Greater East Asia, was an interruption in the establishment of that peace. All they wanted was peace. On November 17th, Mr. Kuroso and Japanese Ambassador Nomura were received by the President in the presence of the Secretary of State, Cordell Hull. It very quickly became clear that the Japanese had brought no new proposals and that the Japanese intended to continue their campaign to conquer China and all East Asia. However, on November 26th, our Secretary of State presented the Japanese with the basis for peaceful agreement between the two nations. The proposal was forwarded to Tokyo. The Japs had to stall for time, but only a short time. The task force was nearing its goal. Sunday, December 7th, 1941.
直ちに出発。しっかりやろうぜ。ドライブしっかりやろうぜ。よろしくお願いします。
p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The Japanese emissaries are expected at the State Department to keep a 1 o'clock appointment they had requested in order to present their answers to our proposals. 1:05 p.m. The Japanese planes are approaching Hawaii. 1:10 p.m. The Japanese emissaries telephoned to postpone their appointment until 1:45. 1:20 p.m. p.m. The Japanese envoys, smiling and correct, arrive at the State Department. 2:20 p.m. Had been sowing death and destruction for an hour on American outposts in the Pacific.
December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy. the United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked by naval and air forces of the Empire of Japan. The United States was at peace with that nation, and at the solicitation of Japan, was still in conversation with its government and its emperor, looking toward the maintenance of peace in the Pacific.
We were not sufficiently on the alert in Hawaii. The Japanese won a series of spectacular victories in the Pacific. Under General Douglas MacArthur, American and Filipino forces fought a fabulous delaying action in the Philippines. Manila was bombed, although it was declared an open city. Because of vast distances, it was impossible to send supplies or reinforcements, and Bataan fell only when Americans and Filipinos had eaten their mules. General MacArthur established his headquarters in Australia, and as Commander-in-Chief of the United Nations forces in that area, prepared for the offensive that would develop inevitably. For despite setbacks, we had established a supply chain 6,000 miles across the Pacific that stretched to New Zealand. Like the other democracies, we were not prepared for total war. Fortunately, under the Lend-Lease Act of March 1941, we had set out to become the arsenal of the free and fighting nations. We were determined to supply them with our war goods, whether they could afford to pay or not. We were buying time. Time to convert the industries of peace into war. Time to make ships, merchant ships and warships. Time to make planes and more planes, bombers and fighters, faster, more powerful than any the world had ever seen. Time to make guns and more guns, shells and more shells, tanks and more tanks. Time to gather the huge strength which was ours, to pour the great riches of American earth into the cauldron of war. America was at war. It had been at war, although few Americans realized it, for more than 10 years. Ever since September 18th, 1931, when Japan clawed Manchuria out of the body of China. While Hitler was still brawling in the streets of Munich, Japan had already begun weaving the pattern of aggression. And the warriors of Japan, still breathing the spirit of the samurai in an era of machines, adopted Western methods of warfare, as they had adopted Western clothes, and architecture, and music. And the Japanese warriors dreamt of the conquest of Asia, and then of the world. And their emperor invoked the blessings of the divine upon this dream.
And the United States was in panic. They were expecting attacks on their Pacific seaboard, and all eyes were on the skies. One night, a huge aircraft appeared over Santa Monica and Culver City. Everybody assumed it was a Japanese attack craft, unlike anything they'd seen before. Thousands of air raid wardens ran around trying desperately to secure the citizens. Anti-aircraft batteries fired thousands of rounds at the object, and the powerful searchlights trained thousands of eyewitnesses onto the vessel. Los Angeles and Southern California went into lockdown. Gun batteries reported direct hits, and yet the craft hung in the sky, virtually motionless. Witnesses reported American fighter planes were sent up, and yet the military deny any planes were dispatched. Waves of them, according to eyewitness accounts, went up against the massive ship. Eventually, they appeared to be called off, and ground forces let loose with everything they had for over half an hour. 6 people died as a result of the flak from ground forces defending them. Eventually, the craft moved down to Long Beach and disappeared. However, this was wartime, and the media was under a lot of control. The only mention of the sighting, seen by hundreds of thousands of people, was in the LA Times, which ran a small sidebar article. To this day, the event is unexplained. Another mass sighting occurred in Vancouver, Canada, during a game of baseball. It was the start of the 6th inning when suddenly hundreds of people started tweeting images of glowing lights that suddenly appeared. A shining blue orb hovering over a field fence. Nobody discovered what the object was, but thousands of people saw a UFO. Over in Zimbabwe in 1994, there was something more than just a mass sighting. This was a mass close encounter. It occurred in a small town called Ruwa, and the witnesses were the children of the aerial school. They all came from different ethnic backgrounds and ranged from 5 to 12 years of age. These children not only saw an alien ship, they saw a fleet of them. Then one of the ships landed, and the alien visitors communicated with the children. They were warned. Humanity needs to take better care of the planet. As news of the close encounter emerged, experts descended on the school from all over the world. Psychologists, researchers, and doctors. The children were asked to draw what they had seen, and it was a common story. Grey aliens with long necks and large eyes, emerging from huge alien aircraft. One Harvard professor of psychology and Pulitzer Prize winner said later that the event seems to have been what they said it was: alien visitation. The children were in fact terrified. One adult witness noted, "This thing, whatever it was beautiful. It had a circular shaped bright light as the leader, and behind it were tails of light in beautiful colours, green, orange and yellow. It moved slowly and looked as if it were just above the house. The amazing thing is that it moved absolutely silently." The alien apparently wore a silver suit and had long hair and a cape. It walked down from the craft and towards the children. Then it paused and disappeared. At that moment, another alien appeared behind the craft, and then it too disappeared. Then the craft lifted off. The communication had come to the children without words. But as one child put it, those thoughts came from the man's eyes. Most of the children in this rural community had never seen a television, and certainly not seen any of the classical Western notions of aliens. This was fresh. Preconceived notions of aliens and UFOs were quickly ruled out. Many of the children admitted to never having heard of UFOs before the event. Following extensive interviews, psychologists Dr. Mack concluded that the children had not experienced mass delusion. What they had witnessed that day was real. Dr. Mack was eventually censored by Harvard University. An investigation into his work ensued. He was cleared and allowed to proceed with his work. What were they afraid of? A few years later, Mack was hit by a drunken driver in London and killed. In China, a spate of mass UFO sightings occurred and even disrupted airline travel. Dozens of witnesses saw glowing lantern objects that formed into diamond shapes and hovered for an hour. Another glowing V-shaped object was spotted by hundreds of witnesses in the same area. As in other areas of the world, the glowing orbs changed colour. In 2010, a mass sighting in southern Russia caused a stir. In fact, the former head of the Kalmykia Republic actually claimed to have met with the extraterrestrials and urged his fellow citizens not to be afraid of coming forward with their own experiences. Residents in the Republic city of Elista saw UFOs every month. The craft formed concentric rings in the sky that rotated. Others saw triangles or V-shapes of glowing light. In 2009 in the Punjab in India, there was a mass sighting of glowing UFOs. Lights crisscrossed the city for over 2 hours before finally disappearing. What is revealed by all these mass sightings, and there are literally hundreds of them, is that no matter how hard the media and government try to dumb it down, the experience of real human beings still continues. It continues across the world. People who have no access to television or internet see the same things as the rest of the world. Children who have no desire to make money or any other motive see the same thing. Professionals, from policemen to lawyers, from government officials to fighter pilots, witness things they simply cannot explain. Similarities in sightings are mind-blowing. Glowing, multicoloured lights that form into unnatural shapes, hover and then disappear. All the old explanations fall very short of answering the questions. Military craft would not hover above a highly populated city for hours. Swamp gases don't form into V-shapes, hover and change colour. Denying these craft are from another world does not answer anything. The evidence is there. Thousands upon thousands of people have now seen these craft, and it increases every year. They cannot all be wrong. Denial is not evidence. Surely, with so many sightings in so many places, all matching, there has to be a singular, common answer to the mystery. Yes, we have technology that the ordinary man does not know about, but sightings have stretched throughout time and remained the same or similar. Our technology advances. We have moved from biplanes to jet spy planes, but the alien craft have remained the same. During the Second World War, hundreds of fighter pilots witnessed glowing orbs flying around. The orbs seemed to play with them as if intelligent. Some human aircraft were even damaged. Humans did not have such technology at that time, and these Foo Fighters, as they became known, are the very same thing witnessed by thousands of people ever since. The real questions are not, how can we explain these things away? How can we put this one on a swamp gas? No. The questions are simple. What are they? Where have they come from? And who knows the truth? These things are not of human origin. They do not conform to any known natural phenomenon. They therefore must be of extraterrestrial origin. But where from? We do not know. Who knows? Well, there have been dozens of whistleblowers that have claimed the governments of the world not only know about the aliens, but are in daily contact with them. These whistleblowers include astronauts, engineers, politicians, and ex-military personnel. The clever trick of the people in power is the use of the media and expert testament. The media is used to debunk and dumb down. Witnesses are made to feel stupid. They become afraid of coming forward. In this way, a large percentage of witness statements are never heard. People in important jobs do not want to be seen as idiots, and so they never report their experiences. Make fun of the hick who claims he was abducted, and you place a label on all the other people who really did see something. It is because of this kind of emotive propaganda we have replaced the following witnesses with actors. In order to respect their privacy. What these people are about to tell you is true. The people telling you are actors. We tracked these people down through forums and social networking. At first, they were afraid of telling their story. They didn't trust anybody in the world of the media. We managed to convince them that we would honour their privacy and keep their names and locations secret. None of these people knew each other before. What occurred was while they were all on holiday at the same place. This is the story of a real mass sighting that occurred in Europe last year. The footage of the craft is from one of the witnesses. Events such as this are happening across the world now.
When they are V-shape. Yeah. No, was it massive? When I saw it,
it was changing colour and everything.
It was like changing shape.
Yeah, because I don't know.
It looked like the shape. It looked like three orbs in flying in a V-shape, and then next time I looked, it was like it was just one.
Yeah, and the sort of thing where you wouldn't put sunglasses on because they're bloody bright as well. But then did you notice how quick it suddenly disappeared? You blinked and it was gone.
Yeah, so I can say I really didn't know what I seen or if I seen. It was.
Yeah, but if you hadn't seen it, I thought it was just me seeing things.
It's not man-made or anything.
No.
Nothing I've ever seen.
No.
Especially not around
I've
here.
seen a few things, but
No.
like that's just ridiculous.
No, yeah. I don't know if it was a plane or something like that, or some sort of military
It
thing or
was the
something.
noise. You didn't hear a plane or even a helicopter.
There was no. I was going to say, I don't know even what made me look up because I didn't hear anything. I felt something.
You felt the presence.
Here's
That's
Yeah, it was like,
and then the next thing, like,
and then I turned around, and looked up, it was like,
to look up. Yeah.
That's
What
what I
was
was
that?
doing. I mean, I was just over there. I was looking up, and you know, like you just suddenly feel like, whoa.
Yeah.
You know,
Like a fuzz from a power line.
Yeah, and that's when you look up.
You know, it just lifts the hairs
No noise
on the back of
whatsoever.
the neck, on the arms, and then
Yeah,
but it was like appeared, and within about 5 seconds, gone again.
yeah, but nothing else that I know because moved out fast. That's unreal. That was, especially. I mean, gone. This is how you blink an eye.
I mean, there's no way
that big.
there was no way that was any military technology of any description.
Not like that. No. I mean, if that had been military anyway, it would have been in all the papers.
they downplay it all the time. They wouldn't.
Yeah. So no, I know what I saw.
But, I mean,
same here.
It was silent. It was so silent running as well. And
Yeah.
I can't say there's nothing.
No.
I don't know. It just looked like a rain. It was like when it finally joined up and like the three became one. It just like a rainbow prism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good word to describe it.
Yeah.
Someone got
the colours.
like a crystal and just caught the light in it.
Yeah, like the sun.
Yeah.
It's, you
Just
know,
get all
like
these-
you got a crystal pyramid or something.
Yeah.
Sun. It's got that rainbow glow. I mean, that's what it was like. That's what it was like.
That's what now know what makes rainbows, don't we? Because the colours that I saw from that,
Yeah.
you know, so, no, I was really surprised. I just did not expect to see anything like that out here.
No.
And I've never seen anything like that before out here either.
No.
So, and I didn't hear a thing. As I say, it was like,
No, as I say,
Just,
I mean,
just hovering there.
Yeah.
I've often heard dog walkers around the park saying they've seen this, and you just walk past.
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
You just
yeah,
walk
yeah,
past
yeah,
thinking, "Oh, muck it,"
yeah,
you
yeah.
know.
You just would have been
So you
It's
think
how it
that's
is.
completely different,
Yeah,
isn't it?
and then it's like, I'm one of the Muppet Brigade now because I can see it.
when you actually see something, you don't want to say anything because everyone suddenly looks at you as if that, yeah, right, yeah,
Yeah,
you
he's
know,
another
no, I
one.
did
Yeah.
see it,
Yeah.
you know, so, but,
Where's that bright white van on? You need one.
Of course,
You
there's
know.
a case of people that go, "Oh, and did they probe you?"
yeah, exactly, yeah. So, but then you're trying to explain to them there's actually nothing like that.
Yeah,
No,
and there's
I mean, there was-
loads of people around. That's the thing.
yeah.
So
I
they
bet-
can't just say,
I
"Oh,
bet
it's
loads of
just
people have seen it.
just these one or two." But no,
Well, there have to be some magic pulse to do a group hallucination, wouldn't it? You know,
Yes,
it
exactly,
was like,
yeah. And the size that was, I mean,
Where is
we're
he?
not the only ones that saw
Here
that.
somewhere?
You know, anybody who was looking up or near in the area at that time would have looked up and seen that. I know that, so you could not.
Yeah, but
miss
when
it.
I initially seen it, and then.
Yeah, early evening, and I saw this thing in the sky. It was like a big, colourful orb, massive, great big thing. But then, you know, it was lit up and lights all over the place. It was like some sort of triangular thing, you know, and it just seemed to sit there for ages. I mean, everybody that was looking up in the sky would have seen this thing. It was amazing. But then suddenly, out of nowhere, it was just gone. And it's like something out of the movie, it just disappeared. So, I mean, frightened the living daylights out of me, but you know, not the sort of thing I've ever seen before, and it definitely weren't a plane or anything. You could see that this was some sort of, I don't want to call it a UFO, but it wasn't anything that I've ever seen before. Massive, great, big, huge, big, colourful orb thing in the sky that just suddenly disappeared at the blink of an eye. That's all I can tell you, mate. It's just there, but gone. So, scary business, I tell you. I didn't like it. I don't like that sort of thing when you can't explain it. Not at all. But yeah, bloody great movie it was. Let's see. Whoosh! Gone.
We were here with my friends and we saw this massive, big triangle thing in the air. Never seen anything like it before in my life. Scared living hell out of me, to be honest. You know, it was there for like 5, 6 minutes on. It just went. It was. I don't know what to say. It's one of them things. It's once in a lifetime, I suppose. Scary. Appeared in the sky. It was absolutely huge. First there was just this one large orb, and then the smaller ones just sort of appeared around it, straight into a V
odd triangular pattern, and it just hung there. It was silence. Loads of us saw it. It just, yeah, and then whoosh, gone. You know, 1 minute there, the next minute it's just empty sky.
I was out here and felt something up. What made me look up? And as I looked up, I saw this like round orb kind of thing, and then two more sort of joined it, and it was like in a flying V. Round over that tree line over there, and it was changing shape all the time. Now, I didn't know quite what I was seeing, but I didn't hang about very long to carry on looking a bit, you know. But there's been quite a few sightings around here of late. You never know what's happening, do you?
It was suddenly there was a giant orb in the sky, and out of nowhere there's loads of them just appeared, different colours, of different sizes. Some were really big, some were small, and they all kind of got together in like a V shape, and just hung there, and then just like that they were just gone, and there was nothing in the sky around that could explain it. It was just there 1 second, gone the next. There were loads of people around, but nobody knew what was going on. No one knew what was happening, and it was just gone.
The National UFO Reporting Center, based in the United States, has recently been inundated with witness accounts of UFO sightings in Florida. The director of the center stated approximately a dozen high-quality sighting reports were submitted in rapid sequence by witnesses in multiple locations in Florida. 3 adult witnesses in Largo reported having had a disc-shaped object descend out of nearby clouds and hover briefly near their residence in the night sky. They report that the object suddenly darted back into the same area of the sky from which it had first come, disappearing again into the clouds. The initial report emerged stating various orange lights were seen. These were followed by another 11 reports when one witness stated something travelling in a straight line leaving a trail of fire or sparks was seen for 2 or 3 minutes, and at 1:47 a.m. when in Orlando 8 spherical balls of light emerged from the clouds. All of this continued for 3 to 4 minutes until they whipped back and forward across the sky in a straight line, then stopped and formed a circle and began to rotate around each other and form different shapes. 8 of the events took place in the 15 minutes between 11:45 p.m. and midnight. There was another sighting at 12:27 a.m. at Pinellas Park when for 15 seconds a plane with red blinking light seemed to be pulled what's like a sparkler. It reportedly went into a cloud and stayed stationary. Sightings have not stopped and are more and more frequent. More people are accepting that something is truly happening, and yet governments still refuse to publicly take it all seriously. Our responsibility is to report what we have seen, to not be shy at coming forward. The more information we have as a UFO community, the more knowledge of what is happening we have, and the less those in power can cover up.